So today we're talking about the MB&F Legacy Machine Perpetual EVO in blue. So this is the titanium version. Originally, the EVO was launched back in 2020. The first generation of the Legacy Machine Perpetual was launched in 2015. The original retail price of the EVO is $176,000. Today, I think it's closer to $192,000, but don't quote me on that exact figure. So when this launched, this was the most complicated MB&F at the time. Perpetual calendars are really hard to make, like really hard. So I personally have a JLC, and every time I try to set it, it's always messed up. It's always like forward the day, backward the day, and like it always has to go into service to get that issue fixed. So with MB&F going out of their way to make a perpetual calendar that actually works, that can't be broken, that you can adjust seamlessly and easily via the pushers on the sides, I think that is truly something that is groundbreaking. So the EVO came in a limited edition of 15 pieces per dial color, and 15 being the number that they chose because it was the 15th anniversary year of the brand. This one, however, is a production model, so no limited edition marking. So before we go and talk about the watch itself, and well, essentially it's more of the same thing, right? But let's talk about what makes it different first from the, let's call it the Gen 1 Legacy Machine Perpetual. So the EVO series is made to be worn more casually. It has more robust features incorporated, as you can see with the sportier rubber strap, the sleeker case design, although it does have the same dimensions as its predecessor. You now have a thinner bezel, and I'd go far to say it's almost no bezel on this watch, as you can see here. It also has a new flex ring. So this is MB&F's new shock absorption system. So that is between the case and the movement. It is a single block, and it is able to move both vertically and horizontally to absorb any shake that the watch may receive. Now, I personally have to hand it to MB&F for making their first EVO a perpetual, because in my opinion, it is the most practical complication a watch can have. Something that you look at every day, something that provides you useful information that you can use on a day-to-day kind of basis. No pun intended there, of course. So another difference is that you have these rectangular pushers on the side rather than the round pushers that were on the predecessor, or let's call it the non-EVO version. They're much easier to use, as you can see. I think that they've also changed the spring system on the pushers to incorporate what I've heard is a double spring system. So you have better feedback when you push each of the different buttons. Now, what also is different is here you have silver hands, mirror polished, of course, with lume. Now, you didn't have this on the predecessor. So on the predecessor, it had blue hands and no lume, and now you have lume even on the bezel, on the dials, rather, I should say. So you see all the indications on the dial. So the days of the week, the date, the month, the hour indices. So all of those have lume as well as the hands. So I can tell you that this is quite a stunning watch to look at in the dark. And here you can see that. Look at that. Beautiful, absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. So another thing is that this one has a screw down crown. So, and that gives it 80 meters of water resistance. Now this is something that I did want to test out personally myself. Unfortunately, the owner of this watch did not approve me taking a dive into his pool with the watch on. I'm sure I'll find someone crazier in the future. So the previous generation had a push down crown, and just to explain what that is, here is a watch with just that. So you pull the crown and that's it. You push it in and that's it. So that is a push down crown. Now, this is not to say that the previous generation did not have any water resistance. The previous generation did have 30 meters of water resistance, but that push-down crown bumped it up to 80. So you got an extra 50 meters just with that crown. Now, I don't know what that means for the pushers, because design-wise, I would have thought that the older pushers would have provided better water resistance, but then again, I'm not sure that you're supposed to be using these underwater, but if it was me, I mean, I'd find out. But anyways, let's not go there today. What is also different here is that you have this integrated rubber strap rather than the old alligator on a curved spring bar. So you have a watch, essentially, it's, I don't want to call it a daily beater, but technically it could be. So let's talk about the case first. We have a 44 mm case, and it is a massive 17.5 mm thick. But this is with the curved glass, right? So this is nowhere near that thick. I don't know, I'd say maybe 10, 11 mm. But then again, I mean, if it wasn't that thick, it wouldn't be a Legacy machine, right? The different finishes on the case, you have mirror polished, well, I don't know, it's hard to call that a bezel, but if you want to, I will. Mirror polished, let's call it the bezel. So you have a mirror polished bezel, you have polished lugs. Actually, you have three different finishes on the lugs. You've got satin brushing, you've got mirror polished, and you've got probably sandblasted interior here around the lugs on the sides. You have some beautiful satin brushing here on the sides as well between the pushers. You have that signature MB&F double battle axe logo, mirror polished, and if you look closely over here, you can see that it is filled in, or you don't want to call it, I don't want to call it relief engraved because that's not what it is, but you can see it's filled in, those grooves left behind the machine, those have been filled in with micro blasting as well. So moving on from the case to the buckle, it's a very snappy buckle. This has a sticker on. People should wear their watches more often. It says metal. I'm guessing it's titanium, but apparently it's just metal. First time I see something like that. So it's all brushed. It's all one finish, from what I can see. Polished over here with that double battle axe logo again, with the grooves filled with a microblasted finish. So the buckle was made by GF Chatillon, and what's interesting, I mean, I wouldn't have mentioned it, but like GF Chatillon was also, GF Chatillon was fully acquired by Chanel back in 1993, and I just thought it was relevant to mention given the current state of affairs. Beautiful, beautiful buckle, very snappy, nice and tight. Will definitely keep the watch on your wrist. So now let's talk about the dial. What you see here is this beautiful kind of, I don't know, do you want to call it baby blue? Do you want to call it sky blue? Do you want to call it summer blue? It is beautiful, absolutely beautiful, with the radial kind of solarization. Look at that. Look at all those lines. Terrific. So this is CVD coated, CVD being the chemical vapor deposition technique that MB&F started, I want to say back in 2013, 14, when they launched their Dubai edition with that crazy green dial. You have all the perpetual calendar indications. You've got the day, you've got the date, you've got the month, and you've got the leap year over here in case you were wondering what that was. This is the power reserve indicator. Now all the dials are in brass and have received a galvanic treatment to get that black, rich black effect. Now what I love about this watch is that it's a very animated watch. Now normally on other perpetual calendars what you get is a very static kind of like, I don't want to call it an old man's watch, but you know what I mean, like it's a very tame kind of very refined looking watch. Well, this is a more playful watch, and I think it's only fit that it's in an EVO kind of case and design. It's a playful watch, it's a fun watch, and it's animated, it's moving all the time. Even when you set the time, if you notice, you can see the gears. Look at that. Even when setting the time, it is just, it's just alive. I mean, you can tell that this watch has like a soul. Let's kill it. I love how I said this watch has a soul and then immediately killed the balance wheel. Anyways. So you can say that this watch is busy, but I wouldn't call it, it's busy but not illegible. I mean, like at a glance, I mean, you can tell like today is January the 13th and it is a Friday. I hope I got that right. Yes, it seems that I did. So the black dials, the floating indications, they really contrast over that movement. And especially this one, in this configuration with the light blue kind of dial. I mean, would you call it a dial? I mean, I'd call it more of a base plate, but I mean, it's just so well done. It's very well contrasted. It's not a darker color where you get the let's call them indications lost into the movement or into the dial. I mean, you've got the silver parts of the movement. You've got the baby blue CVD coating on the base plate or dial. And you've got this beautiful, deep, rich black, galvanic treated brass on top. On with it. So let's talk about the movement. Now this is impressive. Honestly, when looking at a watch like this, what do you think that the power reserve is going to be? 36 hours, maybe 48. Here you have 72 hours of power reserve. And now that is thanks to the twin barrel movement that you have on the back. Look at that. We'll talk about the finishing and all those details, all that good stuff later. But 72 hours with this huge monster gas, I almost said gas guzzling, energy guzzling balance wheel. Now what helps, I mean, I don't know by how much or by what degree, but you see these, so this is a 14 mm wide balance wheel and it has recessed screws, right? So it is a screwed balance, not your conventional smooth balance wheel that you see in most, let's call it affordable watches, right? So these screws are recessed, and that is to help the aerodynamics within the case of the watch. So there is it still has the same laws of physics inside the watch, right? So we still have the same laws of physics to abide to, and you still have like drag and wind resistance and all that good stuff, right? So by recessing the screws, you get more efficiency that way, while still maintaining the ability to regulate and fine-tune the balance wheel to your liking. You've got 581 parts in this magnificent watch. You've got 41 jewels. You can't see them all, but trust me, or rather trust MB&F. This is a fully integrated perpetual calendar. So what I do want to mention before going any further is that while it's still fully integrated, it's not an instant jump. It doesn't have instantaneous jumping features, or it doesn't have instantaneous jumping on all its indications. So, for example, let's take it for a spin. And let's see what happens at around midnight. So, here we are. And as you can see, the date indicator is moving ever so slowly. But at around midnight, you get that jump. Let's do it one more time. And you get a secondary jump somewhere around 2:33 a.m. Let's go for that one again. See, and we get the day moving. There we go. So the date jumped before the day. So back to it. So this is not a modular perpetual chronograph. This is not a modular perpetual calendar. This is actually something that's been built by the ground up by Stephen McDonnell. He is a self-taught watchmaker. He did not attend any watchmaking classes. I've seen at a panel in Dubai Watch Week, and he had this revolutionary idea. And he said that we've been doing perpetual calendars wrong, like this whole time. And he said he fixed it. And this is really amazing. I mean, you can't see it, but this watch has something called what he calls a mechanical processor. So think of it as a CPU, but with springs and gears and cams and all that good stuff. And it defaults each month as 28 days instead of the traditional 31. So it calculates which month needs the extras and which month, or rather just February on a leap year, which doesn't. This is very different to the grand lever system that is implemented on most other traditional perpetual calendars. This is a completely new movement designed ground up by him. Perpetual set by the buttons, as I already mentioned, and this is a watch that is dummy proof, so keeping in that true ethos of being able to wear your watch everywhere and to not worry about like leaving a pusher behind or to adjust something on the fly. I mean, like, you'll be able to do this with just a push of a button. So let's try today's date. Today is what, the 19th of September. Another thing I really like, so it is a logical, it's the buttons are logically laid out. So just by looking, you'd think that this button is for the date, and you'd be right. This button is for the leap year indicator, you'd be right. This button would therefore be for the month indicator, and this button would be for the day, and you'd be right. 19th, not sure if it's a leap year or not, I'll have to check that one later, but let's put it over here. Today is, oh, it was Thursday. Thursday and September. There you go. Your watch is adjusted, ready to go. And you can mess around if it was a leap year or not. Another thing that I found interesting is that if you haven't worn your watch for a while and you just wanted to, let's say this is in the future now and today is the 27th, simply by pushing the date corrector, it will advance the day as well. So you don't have to worry about that. And it will take the month into account as well. So let's go all the way to the 1st of October. And there you go. And if you notice, now that is a retrograde date. I'm not sure why, but let's do it again. Let's watch it in action again. Let's get a closer look. I love how animated this watch is. Look, you just push one button and like a bunch of stuff starts to move. It's beautiful. Look at that. Here we go. Halloween. Halloween Eve. Boom. Look at that. One more time. One more time. Here we go. Does November have 30 days or 31 days? Let's find out. 30 days. All right. One more time for New Year. Boom. Beautiful. Gotta love it. Now, as you saw from that crude demonstration, that this watch is indeed dummy-proof. Now let's further test that theory. How much of a dummy can you be without wrecking the watch? So, I'm not sure if this is midnight. Is it? No, it's not. Okay. Let's go to midnight and press all the buttons and see what happens. All right. So now logically, you should not be able to press this button, but yet you can. You shouldn't be able to do this, but yet you can. Can I move the month? Oh. I can. What about the day? The crown isn't even in. Let's try a little bit further. Oh, was that not midnight? Let's try again. Okay, this is definitely a bad time, but yet no problems. So you can have no knowledge at all, and you wouldn't, you know that big disclaimer you get when you buy a perpetual watch that don't set the time between 9 p.m. and 3 p.m. Yet here I am. All right, let's go past midnight this time, after the jump. All right, okay, so here we are, 12:15 a.m. No problems. No problems. Month, no problems. Day, no problems. Look at that. Dummy-proof indeed. There is also a safety feature in the watch. Let's just kill that balance wheel. So let's say you're doing something a little trickier. Let's say it is a leap year. Let's say it's February. Let's say you are on the 27th. Let's make it 28th. So this would normally be the worst time to adjust anything on the watch, right? I can't adjust. Look, I'm pressing the leap year indicator or the pusher to adjust it, and nothing is happening. Let's try the month. Look, nothing. So not only is this dummy proof, this is idiot proof. Like, you couldn't break it if you tried. Well, I'm sure you could try, but this is as far as a normal person would go. And then if you just advance, one day, everything is back and functional. This is amazing. Maybe Stephen McDonald is right. We really have been doing perpetuals wrong this whole time. Now let's move on to the more, what I would call more aesthetically pleasing parts of the watch. Here you have this huge balance bridge, nice, thick, steel, curved balance bridge, beautifully mirror polished, holding that giant 14 mm bespoke balance wheel. And look at that balance staff. If I could just get it over here, yeah, look at that. Nice, thick balance staff going all the way to the other side of the watch, where you can see the escape wheel and the pallet fork. While the watch is dead right now, rest assured that this beats at a traditional 18,000 vibrations per hour, and that is a nod to the Legacy Machine's history. Something more traditional, something, if Max was born, let's say 100 years earlier. What I find particularly interesting about the movement architecture on this watch is that it has been purposefully laid out. So you don't feel that the date wheel had to be forcibly placed here, or the month wheel had to be forcibly placed here, or the power reserve, or the day indicator. It's all been laid out naturally, symmetrically, and almost purposefully. So much so that there was no room to place the escapement and the pallet fork on the dial side. So it's not the first time it's been done on this watch, but it is the first time it was done on this caliber, where you have the escapement split and on the back. I will watch it in action in a bit. Another thing I really like dial side is this balance, is this power reserve spring. I always go default to saying balance spring. It's a power reserve spring. So we're gonna wind the watch now. Actually, no, we won't do that now. We'll do that later. There's your 72 hours of power reserve right there. Beautifully, beautifully look. Mounted on top, that arrow mounted on top of this highly polished power reserve spring. Undeniably one of the nicest parts of the watch. The star wheel on the date indicator as well. Look at it. Very well done. You have a gold chaton on top of the balance wheel bridge. Again, a nod to traditional watchmaking, part of the LM's design language. Going to the back, we have this beautiful anthracite gray brass movement. We have radial finishing on the crown wheel, the twin barrel ratchets. We have chamfered screws, mirror polished, all of them. We've got even these tiny placeholders over here, even those are mirror polished. You've got all the rubies I can see, except the one on top of the escapement and the one centering the palette fork. All of the other rubies that I can see are sat in a gold chaton. Again, traditional watchmaking. The escape wheel is mirror polished. You have the palette fork satin brushed with beveling here on the sides that you can see. You have radial satin brushed wheels, the gear wheels. They're also beveled from the sides. You've got these thick bridges and thick beveling. Sharp corners over here, interior angle. I mean, like all the good stuff. More or less, that's about it. There it is. 18,000 vibrations per hour in action, 2.5 hertz. Stunning watch. The MB&F Legacy Machine Perpetual EVO. My apologies now, of course, for those of you who know me, know that I'm usually a bit more thorough when I talk about watches, but hopefully this is the first of many, and quality and content will continue to improve. See you guys next time.